Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the QSat Imagery Forum in the space at the precinct. Before I begin, let's pause to reflect the fact that we are meeting, and today are broadly Earth observing, the custodian land of the oldest living civilization in the world. I pay my respects to both the Jagera people and the Turrbal people, and their elders past, present and emerging, as it is upon their ancestral lands that we meet today to share our knowledge. It's brilliant to see such a fantastic attendance today from across a broad government community. So without further ado, I'll introduce today's first speaker, Steve Jacoby. Steve is the Executive Director for Land and Spatial Information in the Department of Natural Resources, Mines and Energy. Steve has 35 years experience in the spatial profession with both the Victorian and the Queensland governments, and is the current chair of ANZLIC, the Spatial Information Council. Steve holds a Bachelor of Applied Science from RMIT University and a Research Masters from the University of Melbourne. And he also has found the time to become an adjunct professor with the Institute of Future Environments at QUT. He was awarded the Public Service Medal for services to land and spatial information in the 2014 Queen's Birthday Honours List. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks very much, Annie, and welcome everybody. It's terrific to be here at the precinct today. We have about 108 people registered from about a dozen different organisations, and it's terrific to see such a great turnout. It's fitting we're here at the precinct. I think today is all about innovation and collaboration, sharing our knowledge and learnings, and I know we're in for a terrific day. I've had a sneak preview at some of the presentations, and they're terrific. In fact, they're kind of so good I decided, normally I would have liked to have included a lot of imagery and stuff in an opening, but I don't think I can compete with some of the things that are following me, so I'm kind of bowing out gracefully in terms of offering any imagery in my introduction. Although I will reflect when I look at it, I sometimes wonder whether what we're looking at is more art rather than science. Some of the imagery we have over Queensland is just staggeringly beautiful, and I think you'll see that as we go on further today. So just a couple of introductory comments and slides from me. We're here talking about QSat and satellite imagery, high-res and high-frequency imagery, but it's just part of the imagery library that we collect across the state. And that goes back 90 odd years to the 1930s. And the team manage a whole range of imagery archives from the very first aerial photography right through to today. And all of that is available in Q Imagery. Today, we're really dealing with imagery that comes from all platforms. We like to think we're platform agnostic. It doesn't matter whether it's coming from drones or aircraft or satellites. And the focus today is very much on the latter. We established the high-res, high-frequency program most recently in 2016, but it's interesting that the first statewide high-res coverage of Queensland was 10 years ago. So with a little bit of nostalgia, and also acknowledging that the Land and Spatial Information Group is actually 10 years old this year. We were formed in 2009, and that was the year that we pulled together the first spot statewide coverage. Now, at risk of further showing my age, 2006 was the first time that we really saw whole of state, in fact, almost whole of globe imagery with Google Earth. And I remember when that popped out, just how staggered I was at being able to see Queensland and Australia and the rest of the globe with imagery. It was a very interesting time to being in government and needing to think carefully about the imagery that we are laying down for future generations to use. And whilst Google Earth and that content is fantastic, we have to be very mindful of our role in managing and setting aside public records. The ability to go back for compliance, for traceability and decision making. And that's something that we've been very, very cognizant of. So in 2009, we laid down the spot imagery. The next image layer was 2012, again from spot in statewide coverage. So very expensive, very time consuming to acquire. Interestingly, Queensland Globe didn't come along until 2013. And that really set a bit of a benchmark for the expectations that our user community have for seeing imagery. And their expectations were very high. They wanted it to be completely current, completely accurate, and at the highest possible resolution. But this is hard yards, certainly in these years. And the epoch, our third epoch, actually was covered over about 3 years. Queensland is a very difficult jurisdiction weather-wise to pick up, and that coverage was a particular challenge. But by the time we reached around the 2014-2015 mark, the expectations for imagery were sky high. And so we went to CBRC with an expectation that said we need to really lift our game here, and we need to look at coverage that is at least annual and is the highest possible resolution that we can pick up. So the outcome of that tender that we eventually put out was two key products: annual imagery from Earth Eye at 80 centimetre resolution, and also the planet imagery, which is around 3 metre and potentially near daily. But we'll talk more about that during the course of today. So we've now had 3 epochs of Earth Eye and access to the Planet Archive that goes back to about 2015, which provides a tremendous resource. I'd argue that Queensland now has the most advanced and comprehensive image library in Australia, and it's something that is a tremendous resource. Part of today is making sure that all of you who have the rights to access it are getting the very best that you can out of it. And we're very keen to learn how you're using it as well, so that we can pass that on. It is a tremendous asset, one in which we can use very, very significantly. We aim to license these products as broadly as possible. That's often a challenge, but we've been able to negotiate at least whole of government licensing for state, local, and our GOC colleagues to these platforms. And wherever we can, we aim to publish it into Queensland Globe and into the State Archive. We've got a really tremendously interesting program ahead of us, but this is very much due to the work that has been done in laying down the foundations for our state imagery program. And I'd like to acknowledge the great work that the Spatial Imagery Working Group do. We've got a whole of government arrangement in place, and a lot of what you're going to see today wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the endeavours of the working group and for their guidance on our current programs and where we need to take them. If you are interested in learning more about participating in the reference group or helping us lay out the program for coming years, please get in contact with the team. We'd really welcome your engagement and input. That was all I wanted to cover off. I think we've got a great program ahead of us. Please take the opportunity to talk to the speakers, talk to the other members of the audience here. We've got an enormous amount of expertise in the room today. Please utilise it, and I hope you get the very best out of the forum today. Thanks very much.